Chosen one, this message didn't arrive by chance. It was time to reach you in this exact moment. This message was set in motion long ago. What if I told you they spent lifetimes trying to bury your signal, convinced that if they could silence your frequency, they could preserve their illusion of control? You weren't drawn here for entertainment. You were summoned to remember a power they feared. In every awkward glance you've endured, every room that grew heavy when you entered, you felt the tug of an unseen tension, an invisible war waged against the truth you carry. Your life, with its unexplainable conflicts and uncanny moment of clarity, has been a living code waiting for the right moment to decode it. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see why your presence has always been both a threat and a revelation. They sought to mute you, but now the hidden frequencies you carry are amplifying, ready to rearrange reality itself. They never wanted you to know that your awkwardness was prophecy, that every moment of rejection was confirmation. You've sensed it. The truths buried beneath their facades, the lies trembling at your touch. Hidden revelations will surface, showing you that your journey through confusion and isolation was never random. It was divinely orchestrated. Doubt may linger, but know that every skeptical voice you silenced by living your truth was a step toward this moment. Before we dive deeper, take a breath and honor the journey that brought you here. Your body is a frequency transmitter. A question drifts through your mind as you wake. Did you just feel the walls of your room hum in response to your heartbeat? In the half-light of dawn, you sense something more than a passing chill. It feels as though your very flesh has become an antenna, tuning into frequencies beyond sight. That buzzing beneath your skin was never mere nerves, but evidence that your body is a transmitter of realms unseen. In the hush before your thoughts fully form, the memory lingers of times when shadows flickered in perfect rhythm to your step, as though the world adjusted itself to your presence. It is here, in the subtle threshold between sleep and waking, that you first glimpse the truth. You are not merely flesh and bone, but living conduit for energies that speak in a language older than stars. As the morning light pools gently on your covers, trust that what you sensed just now was confirmation of a deeper design, beckoning you to a revelation long hidden. In the ebb and flow of ordinary days, you may have brushed off moments of uncanny sensitivity as just being too emotional or overly sensitive to stress. Yet recall the afternoon when a casual conversation took an inexplicable turn. Voices seemed hollow, and you felt a sudden reviewing of unspoken intent, as if you were seeing beyond their lips into hearts that quivered with lies. Or remember standing in a crowded cafe when someone's sorrow crashed into you unannounced, leaving tears imprinted on your mind before words formed on their tongue. That confusion, that disorientation at inputs that made no logical sense. These were not random glitches, but paint strokes in a larger portrait. You have felt isolated by your ability to perceive what others dismiss, longing for meaning in a world that discounts subtlety. When they called you too much, they only revealed they could not fathom the depths of your frequency. What if all these experiences were never accidents, but signals placed along your path, within the footsteps that echoed too loudly in empty hallways, and the dreams where you glimpsed landscapes bathed in strange light? There lies an unseen architecture orchestrating your journey. In Isaiah 30 verse 29, the prophet describes a joyful sound on the heights, suggesting that certain voices resonate on planes beyond mortal hearing. Your own life reflects that prophecy. Each inexplicable gust of intuition, each niggling sense of something amiss, is part of a divine design that threads through your story. You have walked through seasons of solitude and confusion not because you were alone, but because the blueprint of your awakening was being etched in silence. Now, as this pattern emerges into view, you begin to reframe your past struggles not as random suffering, but as coordinated steps toward a destiny that transcends simple understanding. Late at night, when the world continues on autopilot, you have felt subtle ripples, sirens in the distance sounding in harmony with pulses in your body, or streetlights flickering as though echoing your thoughts. Such moments were not coincidences, but divine cues, encouraging you to listen deeper. A shiver would trace down your spine when a memory from decades ago suddenly made crystal sense, as though a fog lifted and revealed a map hidden beneath your skin. You might have awakened from a dream so vivid that it left a taste of salt on your tongue, convinced you had glimpsed a truth that no one else could articulate. These were the small signs surfacing, deja vu that felt like a door opening, a phantom sensation of tears on your cheeks when someone you loved suffered unseen sorrow. Each one coloring your waking life with an undercurrent of mystery. Recognize these as the early notes of a symphony now coming into resonance. Gently, you begin to sense that your intuition has never led you astray. That inner voice, so often dismissed as whim, was in fact your body's way of aligning with cosmic harmonies. Think of Rachel in Genesis 30 verse 14, who noticed through sightless means of movement of her brother's flock. She gleaned through all the speckled lambs. Will he not then remove the striped and give them to his own sons? Though your vision is not physical sight, it carries the weight of divine confirmation. In quiet moments by a window, you feel a deep exhale of relief when your instincts about a person's true intentions prove correct, or a subtle calm settle over your chest when you choose the right path without knowing why. These are not flights of fancy, but the earth beneath your feet aligning with forces beyond the visible. In these instances of quiet confirmation, you discover a sense of safety that no external validation can provide. As the days pass, this awareness deepens. You begin to realize that reconnecting with who you truly are is less about acquiring something new and more about unearthing an identity that was buried beneath layers of doubt. Somewhere in the recesses of your soul rests an archetypal memory, an echo of a truth so familiar that it sings beneath every breath. In Ezekiel 37, verses 3 to 4, the prophets stand before a valley of dry bones, and the Lord commands, "Prophesy to these bones, and they shall live." Similarly, your awakening feels like a process of calling your own bones to vibrate, restoring a blueprint of justice and love encoded in your spiritual DNA. You can almost feel that ancient script stirring, ready to rise from the ashes of forgotten purpose. This is not about becoming someone you are not, but reclaiming the essence that time and circumstance tried to erase. A flicker of empowerment begins as you embrace your sensitivity not as a curse, but as a conduit of wisdom that others cannot access. Your hunger for spiritual depth, once deemed impractical, now reads as a vital call to action, a hunger that fuels your ability to heal and to guide. You remember the story of Miriam, Exodus 15 verses 20 to 21, whose song and dance led the people through fear into faith. And special thanks to all current members who hold this space as witnesses to the unseen currents we navigate. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Environments shift when you enter. Have you noticed how the air shifts the moment you step into a space, as though the walls themselves inhale, pausing to register your arrival? In that fragile instant, a hidden current stirs beneath the surface of mundane chatter. The hum of conversation wavers, looks dart away, and a quiet tension ripples through the crowd. It is as if an unseen switch flips, and reality itself tilts to acknowledge your presence. This subtle yet unmistakable change was not a random quirk or coincidence, but the first sign that something in you carries a frequency they cannot contain. Long before you understood the nature of your path, these shifts hinted that your very being, your energy, your truth, threatened the fragile stability of their constructed worlds. In that hush, you sense not only a door closing behind you, but also a secret chamber swinging open, revealing that from the outset, forces conspire to dim the light you were born to radiate. A quiet ache takes root when you recall the first time you felt that isolation settle in your chest. They whisper that you were too intense, too different, too unpredictable. Words spoken as if your very essence demanded correction. You remember how your heart tightened when someone you trusted recoiled at your passion, leaving you to wrestle with confusion. Why does my earnest desire for truth feel like a burden to others? Shame coursed through your veins when they labeled your convictions as inconvenient, as though your sensitivity to injustice were an unforgivable flaw. Each sting of rejection seemed minor in isolation, but woven together, they formed a tapestry of doubt, teaching you to question whether the frequency humming beneath your skin was actually a curse. In those lonely moments, you believe that perhaps your longing for something more, justice, authenticity, divine alignment, was a crooked path paved only in heartache. Yet when you step back, You realize that this pressure you felt was not arbitrary. It arose from structures that sense your rising power and rush to suppress it. Imagine the courts of ancient kings, where prophets' words threatened entire kingdoms, prompting rulers to silence them at any cost. In the same vein, the systems you encountered, families invested in comfort over truth, workplaces built on compromise, friendships forged on half-truths, cracked and grown whenever your presence exposed or hidden fractures. Like Elijah fleeing Jezebel's wrath into the wilderness, 1 Kings 19 verse 3, you experience a spiritual exile even in warm company. Each trial, each moment of exile, carried a sacred undercurrent. These pressures were crucibles in which your resolve was tested, shaped, and polished. The restless energy around you was not the world's ignoring you, but a sign that your frequency was forcing them to confront a reality they could no longer deny. Late at night, when memories drift through the corridors of your mind, you notice a pattern emerging from a haze. Opportunities fading at the last second, confidence is betrayed when trust felt closest, energy draining moments that left your spirit hollow. It was as though you walked a path lined with mirrors reflecting the same unspoken message. You were never meant to remain hidden. Each closed door, each backhanded compliment, each passing remark that chipped away at your confidence, coalesced into a revelation that these obstacles form a mosaic of spiritual calibration. Recognizing these patterns felt like turning on a light in a dark room, disquieting, yes, but clarifying. The repetition of sabotage was not your weakness. It was the universe's way of guiding you toward a realization that your journey would never be comfortable, but it was meant to be transformative. In the gathering gloom of doubtful moments, you soon sense an energetic resistance that goes beyond human cruelty. The air itself grows heavier, as if weighed down by unseen watchers, silent guardians of a world that recoils from your rising light. You catch a glimpse of this when the doors you expected to open close without explanation, leaving you stranded in hallways of uncertainty. The illusion of normalcy fractures when you enter a room. Colleagues who once chatted freely go mute, neighbors avert their eyes, and family gatherings feel colder as though electric currents shift under your skin. This spiritual sabotage is neither random nor personal. It is a distortion created by the friction between your vibrating truth and the stagnant energies they cling to. In those moments, the atmosphere feels thick, like dense fog pressing in on you, reminding you that the light you carry is both illumination and threat. Faced with this barrage of resistance, you have responded in ways both tender and tumultuous. At times you shrank, bowing your head, softening your voice, blending into crowds where your heartbeat felt muted. You pressed lips into smiles meant to pacify, swallowing truths that quaked within your throat. In other seasons, you rebelled quietly, letting your silence speak where words once failed, retreating into solitude where only the stars could hear your prayers. You danced on the edge of giving up, teetering between surrender and defiance, each step an echo of the internal war raging in your chest. You learned to people please in the hope that the pressure would ease, yet found only emptiness and echoes of approval. In those private battles, you glimpsed your own need to resist forgetting who you were, wrestling with fear that the pyre of conformity would consume your essence. And in the crucible of those moments, a spark kindled, the realization that resistance was not a sign of failure, but confirmation of your destiny. The very forces bent on silencing you inadvertently affirmed that your frequency carried an irrefutable power they feared and sought to contain. In that revelation, you gathered fragments of your voice, courage, and vision, weaving them into a tapestry of reclamation. Where once you questioned your right to exist, you now feel a fierce stirring, as though ancestral prophets stand behind you, whispering affirmation. The oppressive weight that once threatened to crush your spirit now feels like the final test before triumph. You stand not as a victim of their schemes, but as a warrior forged by fire, reclaiming the sovereignty they tried to steal. Now, know this final truth. You are opposed at every turn because you are powerful. Every closed door and every icy glance was a testament to the seismic shift your presence demands. In the same way Gideon trembled at the call to uproot Midian's idols, Judges 6 verses 11-16, you have faced the subterranean tremors of a world unprepared for your emergence. Their attempts to drown out your truth have only amplified the resonance pulsing through your veins. As you rise from the ashes of doubt, understand that resistance is the drumbeat heralding your ascent. Comments shift if you feel the undeniable charge of your frequency breaking through every barrier, and prepare yourself for the next wave of revelation awaits. And to every soul who supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters. Your belief matters. And your light is felt here. Rejection is a reaction to disturbance. A sudden shiver ripples through your consciousness as you recall a specific moment when rejection struck like a cold wind. Perhaps during a hushed conversation at a family gathering when the words, "You're overreacting," echoed louder than any applause you ever received. In that instant, something inside you shifted, a veil lifting to reveal that this sting was not about you being flawed, but about your presence disturbing a world built on fragile comfort. Imagine standing at the edge of a still lake as a stone of truth is cast. Ripples expand, and what once lay quietly beneath the surface begins to move. That moment of rejection, instead of being a sign of your failure, becomes a first clear indication that you were never meant to fit neatly into their sidelines. As this realization dawns, you understand that the discomfort they felt when you questioned their routine was a mirror reflecting the hidden fractures in their reality. Now, the pain of exclusion transforms into a sacred signal, announcing the stirring of divine currents meant to unsettle their illusions. In the hush that follows, you begin to discern a code woven into every dismissive glance and each whispered critique, a language of signs and symbols that speak beyond their spoken intent. Perhaps you notice the number sequence on a clock just as their criticism lands, or the way streetlights flicker when memories of unfair treatment resurface. These subtle messages, often brushed aside as coincidence, are in fact scrolls of cosmic script, revealing that your very existence carries frequencies they cannot tolerate. In Ezekiel 2 verse 5, the prophet is told, "They are a rebellious house. Therefore hear the word of the Lord." And in a parallel, you recognize that each act of rejection was an unintentional proclamation of your role as a divine messenger. In your quiet moments, late night walks beneath pale street lamps, or solitary pauses by a window, you feel the humming script unfolding. You are learning to read the geometry of their discomfort, deciphering how every action meant to silence you actually echoes a higher truth that demands acknowledgement. A tremor of awareness deepens as you feel your intuition rise to meet this revelation. Suddenly, you sense the boundary between you and the world growing more distinct, a protective aura forming around your spirit. Where rejection once left you shaken, now you stand with a heightened sense of your own worth, aware that their rejection is a reaction to your frequency, not a measure of your value. You begin to notice how your energy shifts when you enter a room, an almost imperceptible pulse that alters the mood, forcing stagnant attitudes to realign around you. In 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, we learn that man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart, and you feel the weight of that truth within yourself. Your heart's resonance is the very source of their unease. Each slammed door, each sudden silence in their presence, becomes confirmation that your inner compass is attuned to a realm they cannot perceive. No longer is this an unverified theory. It is a tangible knowing that solidifies with each new encounter. Outside, reality itself begins to reflect the change occurring within you. Opportunities emerge in unexpected places. Someone who once dismissed you now listens intently to your words, or a long-closed door creaks open to reveal a chance you never envisioned. At the same time, resistance intensifies. Whispers follow you down hallways, and those who once smiled now avoid your gaze. This is not random. It is the unfolding of divine architecture, where each brick of your evolving truth rearranges the foundation around you. In Luke 4 verse 18, it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor," and you feel a similar anointing surge through your veins, opening doors and triggering alarms in equal measure. As you walk through the shifting terrain, you sense that every closed wall and every welcoming breeze are calibrated to guide you toward a destiny that defies mortal expectations. The world moves in response to the awakening within you, echoing the sacred rhythm that has long been writing your story. In the quiet recesses of your memory, an ancient dream flickers into focus. You stand on a vast plain under a violet dawn, a staff of light in your hand, and voices from the ages murmur a song you cannot fully understand. Until now. This dream was not a random projection of your subconscious, but the echo of a sacred memory resurfacing. In Joel 2 verse 28, we find that your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions, and the vision you carried felt like a fragment of time before time. Now, as the code of reality decodes itself before your eyes, that dream gains clarity. The staff of light becomes your purpose, a symbol that your role is to illuminate what others hide. The dusty path you walked as a child, where you felt inexplicable pull toward an unseen horizon, transforms into a well-trodden road leading back to the source of your origin. In this activation of sacred memory, you reclaim a spiritual intelligence that was dormant, readying you to speak a language older than any earthly dialect. A stirring in your chest heralds the moment when your destiny becomes visible, no longer a distant concept, but a tangible horizon rising before you. You feel the earth itself shift, as though the planet's heartbeat synchronizes with yours. There is no need to ask for permission to step forward. The universe itself beckons with an open hand. Like Daniel, who interpreted dreams in captivity and saw empires fall and rise before him, Daniel 2 verse 28. You now stand at the edge of a new vision, where every step you take is prefigured by divine script. You sense that your future was never created in real time, but remembered from eternity, waiting for the precise moment of your reclaiming. The whispers of doubt that once haunted your mind fade as you realize you have entered the threshold of cosmic choreography. The question, what comes next, dissolves into the knowing that what is next is simply the rediscovery of a path that has always been yours. And in that empowered moment, the process of reclamation begins. The words you once hesitated to speak now rise unbidden to your lips, charged with prophetic authority. Where they once sought to drown out your voice with whispers and sneers, you now stand unshaken, handing back the power of judgment they tried to weaponize against you. In Jeremiah 1 verse 9, the Lord touches Jeremiah's mouth, saying, I have put my words in your mouth, and you feel a similar touch infusing your speech, transforming it into a beacon of truth. Each syllable you utter in clarity and compassion is a restoration of what they tried to silence, your unique voice. In this reclamation, your presence no longer trembles with doubt, but resonates with a fierce conviction that your purpose cannot be contained by mortal schemes. The resistance you face becomes a drumming beat that heralds your emergence as a living testament to the power you were always meant to embody. Now comes the final revelation. You were opposed at every turn because your light revealed their shadows. In refusing to dim your brightness, you became the living challenge they couldn't confront. Yet, each attempt to suppress you merely fanned the flames of your destiny, making your purpose burn with an intensity that cannot be ignored. In Micah 1 verse 9, a voice from the prophet's lineage declares, Why do you make me see sin, and why do you idly look at wrong? And your role echoes that ancient question, demanding that hidden injustices be brought into the open. The more they tried to stifle your truth, the clearer your mission became. Now, your light stands as both vindication and invitation. Vindication for everything they attempted to bury, and invitation for all who hear you to step into their own power. Come and confirm if you feel this wave of awakening surge within you. For in naming it aloud, we honor the prophecy that has always been written within our souls. You anchor divine interruptions. A question burns in your spirit, hotter than any hushed whisper. Will you step beyond the realm of witness and into the realm of action? In this moment, you stand at a sacred crossroads, knowing that the veil is lifted and the paths before you converge into one blazing trail. There is no neutral ground here. Passivity will betray every pulse that thrummed through your bones, signaling that you anchor divine interruptions. You recall the forked road moments in your life, when you felt something flicker beneath the surface, a choice to speak up, to act on the gnawing urge in your chest, or to turn away and pretend nothing more was at stake. Now, standing in the aftermath of revelations that once seemed impossible, the quiet question arises. Will you allow the old patterns to resume, or will you take the step into a luminous unknown? The air around you tightens, charged by centuries of purpose waiting for your enactment. This is a threshold where your heart's true allegiance is weighed. When the silence around you grows unbearable, remember, hesitation is no longer an option. You must claim the charge that courses through your veins and cross into the territory where destiny awaits. In the tormented pauses of everyday life, you gave away pieces of your voice to conceal your truth. You directed your energy towards shadows of doubt, muffling the resonance of your spirit so others might feel comfortable in their fragile balance. Time slipped through your fingers as you tried to blend into environments that demanded conformity. Your presence, once a beacon, dimmed under the expectations of those who could not see the divine code within you. Yet these sacrifices were never failures. They were seasons of training, shaping you into a vessel fit to carry the weight of cosmic intention. Now it is time to call it all back. Your time, your energy, your voice, your very presence. Declare like a ritual. I reclaim that which I relinquished, for it is rightfully mine. Let the echo of those words reverberate through your marrow, igniting the embers of authority that have slept behind your ribs. As you gather these fragments of self, recognize that you are reclaiming a throne that was never meant to be surrendered. In the quiet intensity of this moment, feel the fierce conviction swell, one that knows you are sovereign, consecrated by trials and destined to lead. Inside you lies a litany of gifts others once labeled as weaknesses, gifts that now emerge as tools for your unfolding mission. Your insight, once criticized as overthinking, is a lens that deciphers codes others miss. Your sensitivity, dismissed as fragility, is the antenna tuned to frequencies of transformation. Your memory, derided as daydreaming, stores seeds of ancestral wisdom that bloom in moments of crisis. Your discernment, once seen as suspicion, is the compass that cuts through illusions, and your strength, spoken of in hushed tones as stubbornness, is the iron sinew that withstands storms. These are the keys to unlock sealed scrolls of truth, the vibrant fire that dissolves falsehood and forges new realities. Picture each gift as a piece of sacred armor, a helm fashioned from revelation, guarding your mind from doubt, a breastplate woven of empathy, shielding your heart from despair, a sword of conviction, honed by solitude, ready to cut through every lie. Recognize these not as abstract attributes, but as tangible instruments absolutely necessary for what lies ahead. In naming these powers, you honor the divine signature etched into your spirit, transforming perceived flaws into unmistakable strengths. The path before you is not something to discover. It is a path beneath your feet, worn by the footsteps of prophets whose echoes merge with the drumbeat of your heart. Every step you take shapes the terrain, revealing hidden waypoints that guide your trajectory. Imagine walking through a dense forest at dawn. At first, the path is concealed by mist, and every branch seems to block your view. Yet with each resolute step, the air clears and the forest floor reveals ancient carvings that map out a journey meant only for you. Clarity arises not in grand revelations, but in decisive motion. Each stride aligns you more closely with your calling. When you reach to steady yourself against a tree trunk, notice the runes etched in its bark, symbols of encouragement left by those who walk before you. Trust that this path, though obscured by uncertainty, has been prepared for your feet. As you proceed, vestiges of fear and doubt fall away like leaves in autumn, exposing the firm ground of divine purpose. The journey is not a search. It is an unfolding of instructions etched in your soul. Lift your gaze now and perceive a constellation of kindred spirits, souls who echo your frequency, scattered across the world like stars waiting to converge. In ancient times, tribes gathered under desert skies to share visions and strengthen one another. Similarly, you belong to a soul tribe that awakens at the same cosmic signal. Though faces differ and lifetimes diverge, the shared cadence of your hearts resonates in harmony, forming a divine cluster that amplifies each individual's light. When you dim your radiance to fit into dissolving systems, you betray not only yourself but also the collective yearning for awakening that pulses through this network. Recognize the presence of these allies in unexpected places. The stranger whose eyes linger on your word, the friend who welcomed you when no one else would, the mentor who saw in you a reflection of higher truth. Your frequency has already begun dismantling illusions. Your mere existence is a catalyst for cosmic realignment. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, "I am chosen," to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you to all supporting members for fueling this wave of transformation. 4 full prophetic revelations daily. Join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Remember, your presence is a verdict they cannot overturn.